Stop me if you've heard me say this before. If you missed us, we are back. Yankees Unloaded. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. Man, episode 176. I just looked at it. Can't believe we've done that many episodes, but I was more surprised to see we haven't had an episode since the 16th of December. So this is the first Yankees Unloaded of 2025. Gary, how you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. First of all, I hardly knew how to set up my equipment again. It's been so long. It's just been a long time, and we wanted to go live, and Jake, we've talked about this before, but we didn't want to go live until something actually happened. And obviously we have a whole bunch of news. We got Jeff Passan going scorched earth on the Yankees. We've got it all, right? Alex Bregman news. So this should be a good show. Who knows how many shows we do after this, but we're going to be consistent. We're going to be releasing shows when something happens or when something interesting is going on. And we think that's happened.
Yeah. And keep in mind, guys, I mean, when the season starts, you know, we're not going to miss a game. Like, it's every single night we'll be going live. So that's kind of the thing here is that, you know, I guess we're on a hiatus, but we were always ready in case anything happened. It's just nothing happened. And so let's talk about it, because I'll say this right now. I think the whole thing with Passan you brought up, he's right. Like, anybody that has an issue with what he said, he's right. Because we can't sit here and be all upset about the Dodgers. And, I mean, you can't be upset about the Dodgers. You could absolutely be upset. Yeah, the Dodgers are spending like crazy, but not upset at the Dodgers for being the only team to do it. Be upset at the Yankees, who are fine, as Passan put it, being third fiddle. I mean, that has never been the embodiment of this organization.
Do you have that quote, by the way? Because for those, some people are super busy.
Have it on me. I'm going to try and find it, but yeah.
Because I mean, he's essentially saying that Hal Steinbrenner, and for those of you who don't know, this is the owner of the New York Yankees, right? This is a billionaire, is pretending as though the Dodgers are ruining baseball. This is paraphrasing, but he's saying, what really can the little guy do by, you can't really compete with what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
The Dodgers are essentially hogging the entire market, which is pretty funny to say, given the Yankees' history and their approach in the early 2000s, late 90s, their approach in the mid 2000s. Let's get everybody we can. Everyone wants to play here. And there are a lot of Yankees fans, they still exist, that think every free agent wants to play with the Yankees. The reason this is said is because of the Yankees' approach from back in the day. When George Steinbrenner was owner of this team, he wanted to get everybody, anyone, regardless if they were 33, 36. He was finding names. He was finding potential. He was finding all of it. And so now we sit here today where the Dodgers essentially get anyone they want, especially the players from Japan. They get all of it. And we're sitting here complaining instead of getting proactive and getting things done. And to be honest with you, I was happy earlier this offseason when I saw the news, frankly, that Hal Steinbrenner was willing to go 16 years all the way up into the high 700s for Juan Soto, because it showed me that he was serious. But Jake, I've tried to remind you before, that's still not money spent. Even though we're excited about the offer, it shows that Hal's serious here. You still didn't spend a dime. Juan Soto chose the Mets. He went to Citi Field. He's going to be a member of the New York Mets. He's not a member of our organization whatsoever. And now we sit here today with Hal Steinbrenner making excuses rather than getting proactive. It doesn't look good. It really doesn't. And I'm glad Jeff said this.
Well, sometimes, you know, something like this can kind of push you. They don't have to say it. Hal doesn't have to say that Jeff Passan is the reason why he spent money to go out and get Alex Bregman. But sometimes the outside voices do get to you. And I'll tell you, from my experience covering a football team, like, I've been told that they listen. You know, these organizations, they might act like you don't exist, but they hear you. They do. And so I'm not saying I've had anything to do with a signing in the past. And I'm not saying we have with the Yankees, but it has been interesting, certain things that we've said, and you wouldn't have expected them to maybe make a decision, and they changed things in the lineup based on what we said on this show. So I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that we don't decide what the Yankees do. But outside voices, they seep into an organization. Anyone that doesn't believe that is ignorant. And so I do think This could be the kick in the ass he needs. I'm not saying it is, but you have an MLB insider, a guy who's widely regarded as the #1 MLB insider, kind of coming out and saying you aren't holding up your end of the bargain, calling you out, and almost in a way, kind of shitting on you, and in a way like saying, yeah, you're daddy's boy, and you're not anywhere near daddy. So that's kind of what he's saying is like, look, George Steinbrenner didn't do this. Yeah, it's time for you to step the hell up. And I have the I have the quote here. He joined the Michael Kay show, and he said, if the luxury tax penalties are so soft, then why are the Dodgers and Mets doing it? The Mets have been the past 2 years, and they've shown a willingness to go there, Passan said. And at the end of the day, these are the New York freaking Yankees. If a luxury tax threshold is impending them, that says about where they are more than it does the luxury tax itself.
It's true.
When have the Yankees played third fiddle in baseball? That's where they're right now when it comes to spending. And he's absolutely right. And I will defend Hal in one instance, because I have maintained the ability to be, I would say I've maintained the consistency in my mind that this is a mid free agency. It is not great. I've been saying it over and over again. It's Juan Soto, some other guys, and then a bunch of Jags. Like, no one's sitting there and saying, wow, Jorge Polanco, unless you're trying to, get people to watch during the offseason. Nobody's sitting there saying Jorge Polanco is the root of all, fixes for the Yankees. No one is sitting there and saying Ha-Seong Kim is a must add. Nobody believes that if they are, right? There's not really too many game changers out there. There weren't many when the bell went off in free agency. There's one game changer, and that is Alex Bregman, who's available. And I'll tell you right now, we said, you and I both really weren't super high on getting Alex Bregman as time went on. We didn't want to pay him that much money. Well, now this is the time, because if there was any time right now, it's based on who are your options, okay? Because you are going to sit there and look like a total jackass if you walk out there to start the season with DJ LeMahieu at third. You're going to look kind of ridiculous if you let Gleyber Torres go and you couldn't, you had to make an example out of him. And in doing so, you don't have one of the best leadoff hitters in the league the way he finished last season. And now DJ LeMahieu's back in the lineup. So how much better did you really get by letting, Gleyber go? Oh, our defense got better. LeMahieu should not be on an MLB diamond right now. His career is done. So first off, when you're looking at Bregman, it starts there, Gary. Who do you have? Who are your options? Well, I like Peraza and I like Cabrera, but if you can upgrade that, I don't mind that. DJ LeMahieu turns this into a DEFCON 1 level issue. But then number 2 here, Gary, as we've seen in the past with, people will remember Carlos Correa, the hot up and coming, top free agency target. He fails physicals. It was the Giants and the Mets, and then he goes to the Twins on a pretty decent deal for the Twins because it was later on, and it was after that whole wave of free agents. Well, guess what? We are in the end of January, going into February. Like, we're going to have spring training. It's right around the corner. And Alex Bregman is still available, which means his cost has gone significantly lower. And what's the Bob Nightingale, friend of the show, what was the number that you said his top bidder is right now?
So as of right now, Bob Nightingale of USA Today is reporting that the Astros offer is at 6 years, $156 million, and the Toronto Blue Jays are expected to still be big on him. So right now, it says in this article that the Astros feel if an offer is not above $180 million, he's going to rubber band himself back to Houston. I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
But Jake, to really answer this question, what bothers me so much about the Yankees offseason is that there were some moves that could be made to make them better. that didn't exactly take a ton of risk. If you look at the market, who did we see sign this week? Ha-Seong Kim signs for 2 years, $29 million. A 2-year contract. The Tampa Bay Rays took a player. If Ha-Seong Kim was on our roster, he would play. Okay. Yeah. It's just as simple as that. You can't tell me that's not a better player than Cabrera. It is. We would prefer Kim on this roster. It's athleticism. It's the ability to play second base, third. He can go over to shortstop, not a problem. So when we're actually sitting here talking about how the Yankees get back to the World Series, and we don't have an answer for what they're going to do for the Dodgers. Nobody does. But your goal at this point needs to be to win the American League East and then win the AL title again. You have to do that. So if you're looking at players and you say, well, that guy objectively would make us a better team, and you're saying no over $29 million, it's just lunacy to me. And if you say no to that, I'm okay with it if there was a pivot here. But what it goes to show you is that the Yankees' plan was to go get Juan Soto. If you don't get Juan Soto, we're going to start spending up to our neck, and then we're done. That's what they did. And that's my problem, is they're not just going to continue to spend where they see fit to get better. They're going to spend according to this budget that they've created for themselves. And if you're going to budget, we're not the Yankees. I'm sorry. We're just not the Yankees, because one thing I know for certain is if I show up to Yankee Stadium in 2025 in April, a hot dog is going to cost me whatever it costs. If I show up to Yankee Stadium in 2032, it's not going to be the same cost. It's going to continue to go up. They have no problem stretching out my wallet and my budget. But when it comes to them, they're going to stay stagnant. It's absolutely embarrassing. It is. And there's no reason to be upset at other organizations that are doing it differently. The Los Angeles Dodgers are doing it differently. If they see an opportunity to spend an extra dollar to get even better, regardless of how good they are today, they'll spend that dollar. So you got to tip your cap to teams that are doing it correctly. And that's part of what Jeff Passan was getting at.
I agree. And, Jorge Castillo of ESPN, before we get into this, the Yankees want to add an infielder, but they are not considering Nolan Arenado or Alex Bregman at this time.
Okay. Now,
I'm not saying he is 100%, spot on, whatever. Like, he could be wrong on this report. I don't want Arenado. I've made that very clear, because I can go out and sign Alex Bregman, who's younger and who I don't have to give up anything for. And this is the time to grab him. This is where, when we did a deep dive, does he make sense? Yankee Stadium numbers, all that, the splits. I don't care at this point, because we are in the midst of potentially starting DJ LeMahieu. And I appreciate his contribution to the Yankees. I'm really not trying to kick a guy while he's down, but I'm of the belief these are professionals, okay? At the end of the day, this isn't going to be, all sunshine and rainbows. I mean, not everybody gets a happy ending. I think they treated Gleyber Torres like absolute dog shit on his way out. I really believe that. I don't think Brian Cashman ever showed that guy the respect he deserved. I'm not saying they had to give him $25 million a year, but to not even show interest in him, he did not sign for that much. So to me, that tells me that you were more inclined of making an example out of somebody who kind of came up with you, who developed, who got better, who was benched, who had a really big time, turnaround, and was a big reason, in my opinion, that you even went to the World Series. We talk about Juan Soto all the time, but Gleyber Torres was just as important as anybody. I understand the defense. I get it. But when you look at that bat, they could not fill, Gary, we talked about this, they could not fill that leadoff role all year. That was an issue all year. And so my issue here is that you truly didn't have a backup plan, right? You didn't. You told us that. You just didn't want Gleyber back. I mean, if this was your backup plan, that's pathetic. And if you want to tell me
now the infield, because with the infield, we're essentially just rebounding. We lost Gleyber Torres. They didn't look and say, okay, well then who's going to play second base for us? Well, Caleb Durbin. They spouted that out at Yes Network. They said, well, odds are Caleb Durbin's going to be your starting second baseman. And we
bought into it. Yeah.
And guess what? That was complete nonsense. A non-story. He was traded within the week.
And by the way,
it's nonsense.
if that wasn't to talk up his value, they're even dumber than they look. Can you
Right.
imagine that?
And then
If
we're
they
the
let
bad
it
guys for
slip?
pointing that out.
I know. Well, think about that. We were giving him credit for like, oh, that's what they were doing. They were talking up his value so they could trade him. Gary, that's what they're leading us to believe. But what if the entire time they just misplayed this and they let their interest in Caleb Durbin get public, and to the point where, Milwaukee, they strutted in there and they're like, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to, trade for, this reliever here. And then they were like, okay, well, we want the guy that you keep talking about. And they were like, oh, well, I guess so. Like, you know what I mean?
My
like,
assumption is that they were talking highly about him with the intention to trade him, which is perfectly fine by me, by the way. I don't mind that. Like, that's part of making trades.
That's what it was.
I would assume that's the case. But once you've made that trade, when we pull the trigger on this trade, we don't have a second baseman. So who's going to be that player? At this point, the Yankees infield's weak. I'm just going to come out and say it. There's some good players. You can find a good player in the infield here or there. I liked what I saw out of Anthony Volpe at shortstop. We assume he's going to take some extra steps in the right direction in 2025. But to sit up here and pretend that the Yankees have enough in their infield this year, I just think that's misleading. I really do. And I saw the report today that Jason Dominguez was going to be moved permanently to left field, which is wild given what they were saying all of last year, which is that left field is too much ground to cover and that he wasn't developed enough essentially defensively to play. And that's not what they're saying, we were at the game. He was running all over. Left field is a very difficult assignment. It's the reason Juan Soto didn't play left field last year. He played right. So those things made sense to me. But now as you make some of these trades, you essentially relinquish Caleb Durbin. Now you don't have an option there. They might as well just come out and say, okay, Cabrera's our second baseman, but they haven't done that. So very interesting how this is going to play out. I know we have a few super chats. I don't have control to throw them up there. Thank you. New York Sports 12 says, glad you boys are back. Happy New Year's, fellas. We appreciate you. We really appreciate you. Thank you for the 2. And then the GOAT, Jeff J. So he's saying, under Hal and the Trash Can Yankees play soft, aren't feared. No, first of all, Jeff, fear is not a part of the equation for actually any organization other than the Dodgers right now. And according to Mookie Betts' podcast, he actually spoke very highly of the Padres team in 2024. I thought they were excellent. Whatever reason, they couldn't put it away. They couldn't win that series. And the Dodgers experience is what's creating fear. And now you go into the offseason, they continue to spend. None of us had Blake Snell going to the Dodgers. You didn't have that, right? They just continue to get better. So Jeff's very upset about this, and I cannot possibly blame you. I would probably say it's safe to say Jeff would like the Yankees to operate like the big brother on campus, but as of today, they operate how they choose to operate this business. And yes, that final word there, it's a business. They are operating a business. The Dodgers are operating a machine. The Dodgers are trying to instill fear. We're trying to instill profit. And until that changes, we're just going to have disgruntled people paying a lot of money to see this team. And we're going to be fine, guys. I don't want to make it seem like we're going to go win 84 games. We're not the Blue Jays. Okay.
I think they're the best team in the AL.
We're still the best team in the American League. You could probably argue maybe one or two other teams can give you a shot at that throne, but our goal isn't to be the best team in the AL. Other teams would surely trade place with us, no doubt, right? You ask a Cincinnati Reds fans, Pirates fan, hey, would you like to be a part of the equation every year? Oh my God, yeah. Are you kidding me? I would love to be a season ticket holder. I'd love to pay some extra money on a hot dog so I can go see some good players. But we're the Yankees. We've been the Yankees. So our expectations should be different than everyone else's. Jeff's frustrated. I'm frustrated. Jake, I'm sure you are too, but we're just going to sit here and see if Brian Cashman unzips his sleeping bag. But I don't want to put too much on Brian because he may be instructed to zip up that sleeping bag, and that could be it.
Hal, man.
I agree with you.
I've defended Hal, but look, as I've said, I still don't think this free agency class is great. But again, it's to your point. It's not necessarily about going out and spending money. It's that you did certain things, like you had an opportunity. Glaber was begging to come back to the Yankees.
Yep.
If you do not upgrade that position, and you say the defense gets a little bit better with Cabrera, or gets a little bit better with LeMahieu, but I suffer with the bat, I don't think you got better at that position. And I think that's a really bad look, because it just shows me that you're trying to make an example out of him and use him as a scapegoat, when in reality, that team collectively lost the World Series. It was not just Gleyber Torres. And like I
Can
said,
you throw
you just
Brian
don't get
on the
there.
screen? Because
Yeah.
this is Brian, first of all, thank you for being a field member for the last 4 months. That's amazing. Appreciate you supporting the show. Now, I want to read this quote in its entirety, because I think this needs to be said. That obviously, when you're talking about free agents, the fear is that you're getting into a contract that a couple of years down the road, you see a contract today like DJ LeMahieu, you say, this is a bad contract. This is creating a world where we cannot spend in the way that we want to down the road. That's the whole point that Brian's making, but I'm going to read it. He says, why do we want another bad contract? He's talking about Alex Bregman. In Yankee Stadium offensively does not work. Clearly, what Brian's getting at is this is a dead pull hitter, obviously very opportunistic in Houston. Not so much a Yankee Stadium. It's Death Valley out in left field. Makes perfect sense. Stan, DJ, and Rodon are terrible contracts. We don't need it. Now, first of all, Brian, appreciate the comment. The point here is that every player, for the most part, that you sign in free agency, he's not going to be what you want for the totality of that deal. We have got to get out of the idea of what a player is going to be 5 years from now. I promise you guys, if the Yankees signed Alex Bregman and he was a colossal dump 5 years from now or 4 years from now, and he was good in years 1 through 3 and helped the Yankees get to another World Series, I promise you, it shouldn't matter to you that we're paying a $20 million contract to a player like Alex Bregman. And here's why. If you look across the way to the Dodgers, do any deals stop them from signing the next player? No. We just talk about, well, they just choose to spend the money. And why don't we? And then we'll look at a player like Alex Bregman and make the assumption if we bring him in, it's reducing our opportunity to sign somebody else. We need to blame who's at the front of this. Who's making the decision that a bad 12, 13, a bad DJ LeMahieu contract shouldn't stop the Yankees from doing anything. I'm just here to tell you guys right now, yes, does it sound a bit ridiculous? You're spending $15 or so million to have a player who doesn't play. Yeah, it sounds terrible and it's pretty funny when you think about it, but it shouldn't stop us and it shouldn't bother us. At the end of the day, it's just DJ LeMahieu making a lot of money to do hardly anything when he was a really good player back in the day for us. So as far as I'm concerned, Brian, I understand where you're coming from, but we really need to pull back the hood and realize these contracts like an Alex Bregman or even potentially bringing in a Nolan Arenado, some of that money comes off. You're paying $20-some million. It shouldn't stop you. It just shouldn't. And right now it is, and that's part of what Brian's getting at.
No, I agree. I actually think at this point in time, with the MLB not having a salary cap and not in any, I don't think they're in a hurry to have a salary cap. I mean, whether you feel they should or not, I don't feel like there's been any sort of momentum there. I have the MLB team salary cash tracker in front of me. Okay. So total cash. So their payroll, right? So did you know that the Yankees right now are 4th in payroll in 2025? They are not only, he said third fiddle, they're behind the Phillies as well.
Philadelphia is spending more money than us.
Philadelphia is spending $1 million more than the Yankees. It's the Dodgers at 344 total cash we're talking about, right? Dodgers at 344 million, the Mets at 332, the Phillies at 285, and the Yankees at 284. That kind of shows me they have one more move that they really need to make, and I think we'll be okay. You know what I mean? Like if they go out and get Bregman, do you complain about the rest of their offseason? I don't think so. I think if they get Bregman now, they won, because what they did was they waited for his value to plummet. and they got him at a good deal. In addition to that, to your point, it kind of nullifies it because, see, with Juan Soto, that would have been a bad deal. It just would have been a bad deal. They would have been paying him. He's likely going to be a DH for most of that contract. It went on for what, 16, 17 years? That is insane. I can understand that. They also tried to get him, though. Like, and I love that Boone mentioned, I forget what I think it was WFAN. He said straight up, he didn't see an end in sight. He said we could have kept going. He did not want to be here. And I agree. I think he always had his sights on the Mets. I don't think he cared about being a Yankee. And I mean, all that news has already come out. He did not care as much as an Aaron Judge, who took, he turned down more money, right? We know the Padres came in, the Giants, all that. He turned down more money to go back to the Yankees. But not everybody feels that way about the Pinstripes. And to be honest with you, I understand it because the Yankees organization isn't first class anymore. It just isn't, right? It used to be, but it's not anymore. And so the Yankees need to earn that respect back. They need to earn that integrity back. And to me, I look at this team, as what have you done for me lately? This team is coming to a World Series appearance. There's probably a lot of different players around the league that do want to be a part of that would want to sign up for that. But the Yankees haven't been willing to. And to your point, why not? Like, DJ LeMahieu's contract sucks. But guess what? It doesn't matter if you keep spending over the threshold. You're already going to pay the luxury tax.
That's not a lot of money, by the way. I don't know who. Well, I guess that's the whole purpose of, I want to stay away from that big deal. You hear $90 million and you think, oh, gosh, that's just so much money. No, it's a lot of money to you and I.
Yeah.
But to the New York Yankees, you have to look at these contracts divided by the years. That's what you have to do. You've got to start looking at these deals in that way. And you say, okay, would $15 million stop the New York Mets from getting their guy, someone that they clearly see would help their team win? No. Would it stop the Los Angeles Dodgers? No. Matter of fact, it would do so little to stop them that everyone's sitting here complaining that we need a salary cap, even though we don't. And the reason that we don't is because when the Dodgers are on TV, everyone watches. So as long as that's the case, it's never going to change. I'm here to tell you guys right now. And if you look at the World Series winners over the last 20 years, it's not just the same team winning every year. This is not 2012 where the Miami Heat are playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's going to be the same teams that you see at the end. It's not that way. The Yankees very well could win the AL, lose in the division series next year, and we're probably seeing Dodgers and some random AL team that we all thought was just going to be good, not great, like a Boston Red Sox, right? So the whole point is that, yeah, I'm not really worried about some of these deals. It's not that much money. You shouldn't be freaking out about DJ LeMahieu's contract. Just get rid of the player if you don't think he can perform. That should be your criteria. If you want Alex Bregman on this roster, just want him because of what he can do, not how much he costs. And that's where the Yankees are right now. They told us that Pete Alonso, they said he's going to be out. It's going to be 4 or 5 years. And we talked about patience. You did speak on how that worked out for him. But at the same time, didn't they tell us that Alonso, they were going to be out on him because it wasn't going to be a 2 or 3 year deal? And now, as things have started to bounce down the street, you say, oh, Pete Alonso's looking at a 3-year contract and he's pissed at his agent, right? So Here we are in a situation where the Yankees didn't really get the top dog that you would like to see. And it was over dollars and years. I don't like it. I really don't. I just think in general, Brian Cashman's trying to be smart all the time. And unfortunately, you get into a situation where you're just trying to time free agents and, oh, I don't want him for that dollar. And then you see Kim at 2 years. They don't do it. I saw it in the chat earlier. I would love to bring it up. I love this, by the way. I don't know if you can pull it up from Jalen Sestero. He says, well, they'll end up doing nothing and say we really like Murakami. I think that pretty much hits the nail on the head. It's true.
Oh, no.
The Yankees are going to continue to make decisions and say, well, look what's down the street. Look what could potentially be on the horizon. We shouldn't trust any of that. Just trust what comes through the door. That's all I ask.
Absolutely.
If you're satisfied with what's come through the door, by all means, I'm not going to try and change your mind. But if you're not, please, for the love of God, don't look next year and say, well, Kyle Tucker's a free agent. Then we'll be satisfied. Do you trust that this team is going to nail that pickup? I personally don't. I'm not here to convince anyone otherwise. All I know is who comes through the door and who doesn't. Bryce Harper becomes a free agent, and I'm looking at Brett Gardner, right? Yeah. Aaron Hicks walks through the door, I'm looking at a contract extension. I cannot trust the decisions that are being made. I can't. So as of now, we're looking across the way at the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Mets, teams that frankly don't seem to care about budgets. And if they're going to play it that way, they deserve to. They're spending a ton of money. Luis Soto brings up reportedly the Dodgers if we can pull that up, we appreciate the 5. Thank you, Luis. Says reportedly Luis. The Dodgers make $332 million from their TV deal, and the Yankees make $190 million. That's a huge benefit from the new evil empire. Luis, it's exactly correct. And guess what? A lot of people view this as, well, the Dodgers have this national market, and they pretend that the chicken, they're essentially pretending that the deal is coming before the spending. But what's actually happening is the Dodgers are imposing their will, and then the money's coming right behind it. Everyone said, oh my God, what an overpay on Shohei Ohtani, $700 million. Are you out of your mind? No player's worth $700 million. It's exactly what they said. Ridiculous. Now, here's the funny part. Just 24 hours later, we see a deal for close to $1 billion, a TV deal. And everyone's saying, oh, yeah, I saw that happening. Oh, did you when you said this player was overpaid? Of course you didn't. So people need to realize, and Luis bringing this up is excellent. The point is that if you spend the money, it's going to come right back to you. We're obviously going to spend more concessions, but is anyone in our chat going to complain to spend $10 on a hot dog if you love who's in right field, if you love who's in left, if there's a star at third base? Wouldn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, and again, this isn't the NFL where you have to get under the salary cap in order to not get penalized. You have to be under the salary cap by the end of the last day of preseason, right? In training camp. Before you go into the NFL season, you have to get under it. There are penalties. You could lose draft picks, all of that. The MLB, it's you can do whatever. Now you can defer all these deals and what have. There's so many different things you can do. So yeah, ideally maybe, you kind of think about it and you don't really want to do that, but tough. You just missed out on a World Series where, let's be honest here, that looked like a blowout, 4-1. I get that. But that was a winnable World Series. They should have won game 1. They could have won game 2. They could have even won the last game. So they won one of those games, right? But we're talking about 3 other games that they could have won, one that they should have won. So really, this should have been going back to LA for game 6 at the very least. And so I look at that as, you're not that far away, but you're not that far away as of last year. You're not, you brought this up. This was the best chance to take down the Dodgers. Now they're going to have Ohtani back in the rotation. And that was before what they did this offseason. And keep in mind, they could have seriously, they could have just totally taken everything and just shoved it down everyone's throat and just been the highest bidders for Juan Soto. They could have absolutely done that. There's no reason to think why they couldn't have. They decided not to. Did they do it for the good of the rest of the league? I don't know. But they absolutely could have. They were already up to $600 million, Gary. They absolutely could have kept going and paying Juan Soto. They could have really made that difficult for the Mets. And
this is a huge threat for us. If you really think about what's happening here in LA, let's just call it for what it is. The Los Angeles Dodgers are now the sexy place to go play. You become a free agent. You think Dodgers first, Yankees and Mets and all the rest of the jabronis after that. That is where we are. And so people can complain or they can bring up a point about the Yankees history, who's played for this team, how much they've won in the past. None of that matters in 2025 to these players. The players and the decisions they're making dictate that, not me. The players go into free agency. You'll see a guy like Juan Soto hit home runs, just electrifying this fan base. And players are just saying, I'll go play in Citi Field. Not even they'll just make that decision. No big deal. Right. if we were where we should be as an organization in terms of spending, in terms of our mentality, I think that decision is much more difficult than what it was for Juan Soto. I think we made that decision just far too easy. I actually said before Juan Soto signed, I said, man, if Juan Soto signs with the Yankees, what is it that all of our fan base expects to happen afterwards? And my guess, this is completely ignorant. Everyone can prove me wrong. My guess was that everyone would tell you if we got Juan Soto at that $785 million mark, we would have done not anything else. Which, by the way, people would have said, if we got Juan Soto, I'm happy with our offseason. Some people would say that. For me personally, I thought the Yankees needed to get better. I did. I thought Gleyber Torres was on his way out the door. They kind of made that clear. I thought the Yankees still had to make some extra moves to get better. And right now, only the Dodgers are in a position where they say, yeah, we've spent enough. But that's a way right there that's absolutely going to make us better. So we're just going to do it. And the Yankees are not in that position. So having said that, why would Juan Soto feel that the Yankees are going to win a World Series in 2025 and beyond when they're content bringing me back? That already wasn't enough. The Dodgers got better. Why am I signing on to this? I might as well just go where the most money is. That's going to be fun to play. There's not going to be as much pressure playing for the Mets as there ever would be for the Yankees. And they're just going to blame me if we don't win. They're not committed to winning. They won't continue to spend. So to be honest with you, I'm not that upset at Juan Soto. I'm really not. I'm upset at where we are in terms of being a marquee brand in this sport. We've proven that we're not willing to play like the Yankees and spend like the Yankees. And we are sort of just laying in that mess.
So I like what Brian said here. How do you guys feel about having an amnesty clause in baseball? The NBA does it still, I believe, but you can release a player with a bad contract, not have the contract count towards the salary. So I like this because I think we could turn his question and kind of like, who would you use the amnesty clause on if it was in baseball? Because for me, like I'm not even going to lie to you. I might do it with Rodon, and I would have just like gotten both of the top starting pitchers. I wouldn't have just, gotten freed. I would have used the amnesty on Rodon, and I would have gone out and gotten, Corbin Burns. So
okay.
that's what I would have done. Like, but what would you have done? And to be honest with you, I would like the amnesty clause, but at the same time, I guess it's not in place because the NBA has a soft and hard, salary cap. Whereas the MLB doesn't have a salary cap. They just have a luxury tax that you can go over and you just pay penalties, but it's not like they take away draft picks. Well, I guess they do now to a degree, but it's not like they really penalize you, right? It's just in the, the pocketbook, if you will, not necessarily hurting your team for years to come. But what say you?
I feel people would probably assume it would help the Yankees because they'd say, oh man, first name that came to my mind was Marcus Stroman. I liked what he did in 2024 in hindsight. I know people were upset with how that finished. Totally understand. But I try to look at the totality of what he brought. But then I look at that contract and say, I am not paying $18.5 million to have him in our locker room. Nonsensical. Okay. This is just about the player. I don't care about anything that happens off the field with him or any of these other players. He is not worth paying $18.5 million. There's no possible way. Okay. So having said that, yeah, I would amnesty that contract. But having said that, you have to remember you're giving yourself an amnesty, but you're also giving teams like the Dodgers another amnesty.
So they get to get out of a bad deal.
Right. So I understand that there could be a benefit here, and I'm glad it was brought up. But at the same time, be careful what you wish for, because the Dodgers are showing without amnesty, we'll go get everybody. Now, going to get somebody, the Dodgers may spend on a Patrick Corbin, and that could really work to your benefit as all the other teams. But with amnesty, the Dodgers can say, oh, that guy who's got Tommy John, yeah, we'll bring him in. And if he gets hurt and it's a colossal dump of a deal, yeah, we'll just amnesty him. I understand the question. I get it. I think it could help us. But given how the Yankees spend and how unaggressive they are, I think it'll just help our rivals, really.
They're paying Michael Conforto $17 million this year just because they can.
Yeah, and we're freaking out about paying. And by the way, Conforto, I like the fit. I don't hate it at all. But that type of money, that's big money. Now,
Yeah,
what's
that's
so
just
funny
like,
about it is
you
we're
get it, you
complaining
get it,
about
you
DJ
get it.
LeMahieu, and they're seeing it as like, oh yeah, we'll take a flyer on Conforto, and we think it could really
A
work out.
flyer with $17 million. Like that's not like a light. Michael Conforto is the 6th highest paid according to payroll salary. Obviously, we know Otani with the deferrals and all that. A lot of deferrals here. But looking at their books, Michael Conforto is their 6th highest paid player. Like you got Blake Snell, 36.4. Tyler Glass now.
Blake Snell makes more money per year than Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
And think how much that's not mattering. If you really think about it in the grand scheme, it doesn't even matter to the Dodgers. They've earned that. They spent all that money. They're making all that money. They can give Blake Snell more money than we gave Garrett Cole. When we got Garrett Cole, you would have thought the Death Star just took off from the runway.
Oh my God. What's so funny. So I see the comment there. When did the Yankees sign LeMahieu? Like the next contract, like the one that he's
like
on
his
right
$90
now.
million deal.
Yeah, the one that he shouldn't have probably gotten, but was it 2021? I think, which he got hurt. Yeah, it was 2021. He's a free agent in 2027. That's insane.
Yep, that's what ESPN says. 2021.
So Yankee King is saying no Bregman is DJ LeMahieu 2.0. Bregman's 30 years old. LeMahieu was 32 when he got that deal. So I think what people don't understand is that Bregman has been around a long time, but he was young. Like he's only 30. Because I thought, remember, I told you too, I thought he was older. I was thinking, oh, he's probably 33, 34. He feels like he's been in the league forever. He's 30 years old. Like he's not super old, you know? And so I look at Bregman and I'm like, am I the biggest fan of him? No, but where we're at right now, based on who is the option, I mean, who would you like? Come on now. It's not even up for debate. Would you rather have Alex Bregman on a deal that doesn't have any sort of ramifications because you don't have a salary cap and maybe you pay him a little bit more than you want to, which I don't think you would because it's January going into February? Or would you rather, play Oswaldo Cabrera or DJ LeMahieu? Because I'll tell you right now, I think it hurts the Yankees if they do that platoon shit. We didn't like it with Jose Trevino and Austin Wells. I think the thing that the platoon does is it takes you out of a rhythm. This is a very mental sport, okay? This is a mental game. When I'm struggling at the plate and I'm batting every other day and I'm in the field struggling and I'm trying to build some momentum and I'm playing every other day, how can I get anything figured out? How can I get anything fixed? I go 3 for 3 with 2 jacks, and now the next day I'm on the bench because platoon. It's BS. So I think an everyday starter is the approach here, which would be Alex Bregman. What I would say also is I'm saying this, waving the white flag. You won, Yankees. I think it's entirely stupid to act like Jazz Chisholm can't play third when you were so quick to throw him over there last year on your route to go to the World Series. But Jazz Chisholm, to me, offers so much upside at third base. We just continue to hear how they won't play him at third. He's going to play second. They look at him as a second baseman. So to me, I actually don't believe in this. I'm not saying I don't entirely believe in the report. The one guy from ESPN, I got to go find his name again. I don't want to.
Can you throw Jeff J on his last chat?
Jorge Castillo. Remember I said they're not considering Nolan Arenado and Alex Bregman at this time. I don't really buy that. Yeah. I don't buy that at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you think that Jazz Chisholm is just going to move to second and you're going to play DJ LeMahieu at third, maybe they are capable of that. Maybe they are actually that dumb, but I don't buy it. I honestly don't buy it. I do think at some point or another, my gut feeling is that they'll probably make a deal for Arenado, but I think it should be Bregman. Now, I understand
think they will. You think Arenado's?
I feel like
you're making you're not like, I guess, calling the shot, but you really still think that that's an option. Jeff J brings up the point. He said, I'd rather just trade for Correa. Now, here's the interesting part. Okay. So there's a debate of whether or not Carlos Correa deals with too many injuries for this to make sense. Now, I want to say something really quick about players that do deal with injuries, okay? And this also pertains to age. There is no player that's going to be young that also doesn't get hurt, that's also not commanding years. It doesn't exist, guys. When you're looking at Kyle Tucker next offseason, I think majority of people in this chat would say, yeah, that would be a great fit. A lot of us were praying to God that this player just fell in our lap via trade. Didn't happen. But guess what? Kyle Tucker's getting 10, 11-year contract next offseason. And people are going to say, this is a home run for the Yankees. Why? Is it because in year 9 he's going to be amazing? No, Kyle Tucker's going to stink in 10 years. He's going to be horrible. You want to know why? Because all-time great Hall of Famers stink in their age 39 and 40 season for the most part, unless they're Barry Bonds. So just know, guys, when you're talking about injury prone, right? When you're talking about, look at the teams that we all project to win the World Series. We're talking about Tyler Glasnow is in a rotation. Shohei Ohtani, they have 2 guys in the rotation, right? So, and that's not even it. Last year, they brought a guy off of multiple Tommy Johns, and he closed out the World Series to beat us. Now, does that mean you should just throw $30 million at anyone regardless of the injury history? No. But the point is, guys, there aren't going to be players that are 23-year-old free agents that you can throw a contract towards them where they'll never be old the entire lifespan of the contract. Those deals don't exist. At some point or another in the deal, you're going to be getting screwed. Just don't want to be getting screwed at the beginning of it. That's all I'm saying. So if you love Alex Bregman for this team, then just love him for the team, but don't tell me because of what he'll be in year 4 and 5 as a reason why we should panic and say, I don't want that player. Because if that's the way we're going to do our business, we won't sign anybody. I'm here to tell you right now, nobody is signable. Okay. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at with this. I think in general, I personally wouldn't go Alex Bregman's way. I thought in general, the Yankees needed to do something a little earlier in the offseason, and that was potentially via trade, and hasn't occurred. I'm not exactly sure if they're trying to see if the Cardinals are going to take significant money off that Arenado deal. I don't see that happening. So it's disappointing, but at the same time, at this point, when you lose Juan Soto, you're going to have to take on risk somewhere. You're not just going to be able to turn and say, oh, that's an option that I would love. They just don't. You're not going to find 2 or 3 options that are just can't miss. They don't exist.
Well, and if they didn't, I mean, to be fair, if they didn't screw up Oswaldo Cabrera's development and they didn't platoon him with DJ LeMahieu in the first place, he might actually be a viable option. I mean, he might still be a viable option, but the point is they always held him back. We talked about it. Oh, he should be playing. He's not. Do you think that's hurt his growth a little bit? I do. In addition to that, you look at Oswald Peraza. Okay, Peraza. This is a guy that they refused to trade for Luis Castillo. This is a guy that they refused to trade for Pablo Lopez. There were multiple teams trying to acquire him, and they refused to move on from him. They didn't just take Volpe. They took Peraza too. A lot of people forget about that. Peraza is a guy that they just threw away. So then you look at those 2 guys they messed up. Then you talk about Trey Sweeney. Sweeney is going to start for the Tigers. Good defender. Like, there's another guy. So they've let guys go and they've mismanaged prospects, and now they're in this position. And the fact that they're just okay with DJ LeMahieu, you know what that tells me? They don't want to leave their comfort zone, and that's concerning. So look, I'm not saying here to give Alex Bregman a 40-year deal, or $40 million a year deal, and just like call it, a day and just blow, Toronto out of the water. I'm not saying that. But we're talking about 156 over 6 years, Gary. That's $26 million. His market value going into this season, according to Spotrac, was $30 million.
Oh, there you go.
So that's a good discount. That's a pretty good discount. You shave $4 million a year off his contract. If I'm the Yankees, I'd offer him 157 over 6. Be like, there you go. Just $1 million above. I might even do 1 penny above. The point is,
Brian's on
I'm matching it.
So Brian wants Bohm. I've wanted Bohm all offseason. I actually said that in our last episode, December 16th, that I wanted Bohm on this team. I assumed that Gleyber Torres was gone. I assumed the Yankees weren't comfortable with Jazz Chisholm at third base long term. And that, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but given the market, it seems that that's the case. So if that's the case, Bohm would be really good over at third base, and Jazz Chisholm can move back over to second base and do his thing. But as far as I'm concerned, the Yankees infield is unfinished. It is unfinished. And right now, our sights, for whatever reason, are set on the offseason of 2026. Well, I guess we should say winter 2025. And if we lose out on, so Vladdy Jr. and Kyle Tucker will be free agents. I think most of us are going to say we've got a DH kind of locked in. We want to protect DH for Aaron Judge on the back end of his career. We're going to be looking at Kyle Tucker. Then you don't get Kyle Tucker. We're going to kind of talk about the stragglers in the trade market. We won't get any of those guys. What's up?
Murakami.
We're going to talk about Murakami. Then they're going to tell me, oh, Murakami, he just wants to go West Coast. That's the reason why he didn't come play here. That's the reason he goes to the Giants or goes to the Dodgers. No, you've got to prove to these players in Japan that if I don't go West Coast, where we all really want to be, it's the most logical place for us to go. I can go on a direct flight, right? That makes perfect sense. You've got to give them a reason to leave that comfort zone. You have to. And if you haven't created an avenue and a runway to show them what they're getting themselves into, why would you possibly get upset at players saying, well, I'm going to the Dodgers? I love your organization. I'm going to the Dodgers.
I will say this, though. I do understand people's gripe about the international. Like, you can't just have one team be an international free agent pipeline. I do, and I think you agreed with me on this because we were talking about this. And I guess my thing here is that the worst kept secret ever was that Sasaki was a Dodger. We knew this for 2 years.
Yes, we did.
And of course, he did the whole, I don't know, I'm going to meet with this team. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, I don't want any players in attendance in my meetings. And all of a sudden he goes to the Dodgers and is like, yeah, all these players are in attendance. We knew. But my concern with this is that while I've defended the Dodgers because everyone else can spend, that is something that isn't necessarily fair. We're talking because the Dodgers are on the West Coast, right? That they essentially have a pipeline where it's a get out of jail free card. If you feel like your team is starting to go downhill, if you feel like you are over the hill, a lot of these players are getting older, you can just go over to Japan. There you go. And that's where they want to go. Then you could say what you will about, well, they built that with Ohtani and all that. That's not really what's happening here. To your point, like you said, in the past, these players would go, Daisuke Matsuzaka went to the Red Sox. Tanaka went to the Yankees. Matsui went to the Yankees. Ichiro went to the Mariners. But there have been other, like Suzuki going to, the Cubs. There have been other pipelines and stuff. But now it's only Dodgers. And that is where the league is going to start having an issue. When they got Hai-Seong Kim, that to me was a huge red flag. We got an issue here in baseball. Now, it's not an issue of them spending money because anybody could have gone out and gotten, what's it? The closer that we liked, Tanner Scott. Anyone could have gone out and got him. That is a fair playing field. You could be the highest bidder. But when it comes to these foreign, these international prospects, let's be honest here. The Dodgers don't have, there's not a level playing field here. The Yankees are playing David versus Goliath. They're in New York, and geographically, they're screwed. And so to me, that wasn't an issue before. Now it is an issue because one person did it. Now everyone's following him. And I just think that we would be so ignorant to essentially act like that's not an issue in baseball. So the one issue I have is that, Gary, is that I will defend the Dodgers are the only team. We've talked about this. They're the only team willing to spend. It might annoy you, but they are the only team that is willing to do this. What I'm not okay with is now that, there needs to be something in place here where you can't just have all of these, international free agents that could just sign with the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Because they have essentially an unlimited pool of players coming in to help them. Their
prospects is what they are. So essentially what happened, for those of you who weren't paying attention this offseason, when Sasaki signed with the Dodgers, he could have waited and sat out and played in Japan for 2025 shown up in the winter of 2025 to make his debut in 2026, he would have gotten a deal that would have surpassed Yamamoto's $330 million contract. That's a fact. Now, having said that, he came early. He showed up and said, I'm not here for money. I'm going to get paid. He ended up getting paid $6.5 million in international pool money, which is nothing. It's absolutely pennies on the dollar. Matter of fact, to prove this point, he showed up to the United States and he is now listed as baseball's #1 prospect. So baseball's #1 team just signed the #1 prospect just because
they're on the West Coast.
But I mean, they're on the West Coast. They're the Dodgers. They're already winning. So there's other factors. Obviously, their organization and what they do for development. We get that. But having said that, they're just gonna show up and bring the #1 prospect, and then they have all those years of control with this player. That makes no sense at all. I am not upset at all when the Dodgers go out and spend more than us and they say, well, you could have spent this money. You didn't. That doesn't even bother me. It really doesn't. People complain about that all day long. They'll say, can you believe that they're allowing Tanner Scott to go to the Dodgers? Well, Tanner Scott was offered the most money with the Dodgers and he wanted to play for the Dodgers, so he's a Dodger. That's the end of that conversation. But when you've got players coming from international baseball, and you're going to tell me that they're going to show up for pennies on the dollar to a team already spending more money than you, that's nonsensical. What there should be is some type of draft that allows people, and I don't want Sasaki, because this would be terrible for baseball, to have him go to the Marlins. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Sasaki and say, okay, the #1 overall draft pick can select Sasaki, because in my opinion, it would just make those players not want to play here. They don't, and they're just going to sit. I'm okay with them going somewhere else other than the Dodgers, but
I think there should be an anti-tanking thing. So, like, for instance, because I get what you're saying, but you also, like, you can't give them priority when you have top prospects in baseball and they're going to, essentially wither away in a minor league organization.
Our draft system just kind of sucks. Like Paul Skeens is just going to Pittsburgh and he'll probably sign like some deal before his free agency. And then,
now, to be fair, that's like any league, but to your point, it's different because the Pirates don't get any better. It's not like a great example of this, Jaden Daniels. Look at the season he had for the Commanders. I mean, they went from 2nd overall pick to being 1 game away from a Super Bowl, right?
That's right.
But that's the thing, is that we don't get those crazy turnarounds. We don't get a team, unless you're the Orioles, who tanks every year up until now. We don't get crazy turnarounds where a team that picks 1st or 2nd in the draft ends up going to the World Series. And so to your point, the Pirates are like one of those teams that's kind of like, yeah, if they're good, they'll be like barely above 500 and maybe do some damage in the wild card. Or
you're going to get in Jeff Passan's article saying, don't sleep on the Pirates.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that's true. Like, he's right in writing that article. But does an international star want to go to the United States, go play for a team, go to the minor leagues, and then show up to the big leagues and be a part of a dookie organization for 2 years? Then they're like sort of ascending in year 3. And then in year 4, you're a free agent. You have to make the decision. Do you want to stay there, or do you just want to go to the Dodgers or the Mets? Well, they're just going to choose to leave. So their thing is like, maybe that system should be a little more luck of the draw, so I can go to the Diamondbacks, right? Well, as the #1 international guy.
Let's say, I mean, I would almost, as crazy as this sounds, I would almost have a qualifier where if you like, kind of similar. So, how in like Hard Knocks, if you're a bad team for X amount of years, you have to do Hard Knocks. Yes. I would have a qualifier that's almost the opposite of that, where if you're not a good team, you are not in the sweepstakes. And so in a way, it's almost like a draft lottery, if you will. And you put everybody into a pool, teams that qualify, teams that have shown the ability over, say, the last 5 years to be competitive. So we're not sending an international,
What do they call that in an alcoholic drink? This is a perfect idea. What do they call it? A kicker, right? You're throwing a kicker into your drink, but they're going to throw an extra shot of vodka. What they can do is if you don't have a playoff berth, so the Seattle Mariners can go beat Rock, you have the teams. You
there
have
goes
at least
all our
one
Seattle Mariner viewers.
Whatever, bite me. If you're gonna sit here and say, okay, we made the playoffs one time in the last 7 seasons, let's just call it that, then essentially it puts you in the pool and we roll the ping pong ball. And then we see who gets the number 1 overall international draft selection. And that way, one team, this could be the Twins, it could be the Yankees, you get to select Sasaki, the Guardians, because if Sasaki came to Major League Baseball and there was luck of the draw from one of any of those organizations we just named, it would be blockbuster. It would be amazing to watch. It would be exciting.
It's all fun
to watch
games until the Dodgers win it.
if the Dodgers win it, you just got to chalk that up to the multimillionaire that just wins, $10 million at the craps table. You just chalk it up. But we can live with that. I think that would be fun, and it would bring some sort of excitement to the draft process. I really do. These ideas aren't polished. They're not perfected. We're not going to claim it.
What did we say before we came on this show?
Thank you, Stephanie.
What were we talking off air about when we came on the show? They need to have more focus groups for for instance, like StreamYard, YouTube, we know stuff and it's like, oh, we have all these great ideas and it's like they'd never listen to us. But they need to have a focus group for the MLB because I think that is a way better idea than what they currently do. And it's not me having sour grapes that the Dodgers got him, because I'd say the same thing if the Angels got him, if the Giants got him, or Seattle got him. There's only 4-5 teams that are in the mix here because of that West Coast. So because your team just happens to be on the West Coast, which has been established long before a lot of these decision makers were born, you're telling me that you have this advantage over. Should we move the New York Yankees
to Tijuana?
I might as well. Maybe it would help us out.
You can fly in direct straight from Japan. It'll be perfect.
Yeah. Like Patrick from SpongeBob, just push him down.
Yeah, it really is. It is kind of dumb, but obviously
it is.
Baseball doesn't want to do it. Ooh. First MLB team in Hawaii. Let me tell you something. If a team was in Hawaii, do you know how miserable travel would be?
Oh my God.
They better have me on a private jet with hot tubs and massage therapists and it all.
MLB revenue, by the way, I texted you this. MLB revenue hit a record high of $12.1 billion. We did a YouTube short on this channel, and because there was a short from one of our shows, and we talked about it. People are acting like baseball is dead, and that's a record high. So how can it be dead? I think it's actually starting to grow again. I think it was stagnant for a while, and I think this is why I'm not saying that I want to crap all over the international free agents, right? Because I think Ohtani is breathing life into the sport. I think guys like that are really a big reason for this record $12.1 billion revenue generated. I really believe that. I think Ohtani has done wonders for this league. And I'm not just saying Ohtani. I don't want to take anything away from Paul Skeens, right? Because now you have people that are like, yeah, I'll turn on the Pirates game to watch Paul Skeens pitch. Who was saying that ever, right?
No.
So
No, it wasn't
there
happening.
are these players like a Juan Soto, like an Aaron Judge, that you just want to watch. And people are tuning in. And I think also a big thing, when Aaron Judge was chasing that record, I remember there were people complaining about it, but there were also some people that were interested that didn't even like baseball. And it was showing up on like your ESPNs, your, Fox, and they'd like, oh, here's Aaron Judge. He has a chance to. And I think during that time, I think people were like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like this. And that they got kind of introduced to the sport. And I think with Ohtani, the stolen bases, the home runs, just how well he bats, and then he's going to be pitching again. Like, he's going to have a lot of people watching him, and the Dodgers are going to be fun to watch, whether you love them or hate them. So I do think that the sport for a little bit was in stagnant mode. You were starting to see it. Like, the UFC had really taken off, and I mean, they're passing everybody. The UFC is insane. They're a well-oiled machine. But like the NHL, even at one point, like they got their TV deal. They're starting to make some moves. The MLB probably is never going to pass the NBA, but who knows? I mean, stranger things could happen.
At this rate, I saw they were trying to lower the quarters to 10 minutes. I mean, that
is the worst league by the way.
Terrible.
The NBA is the worst product in all of sports. I really believe that. I think it's awful. I think baseball is a great product. Yeah, I think baseball is a great product because guess what? I don't turn on baseball and say, National Blowout Association. I told you, I went to the Lakers game, my first ever Lakers game. I'm in LA. And the first half against the Nuggets, it was like they're outplaying them. This is fun. They're moving the ball like crazy. You got all these young guys, Dalton Connect, all that. The second half, it's like they went down by 10 and they just got depressed and gave up. I've never seen more quit in my life. Yeah. I literally have not watched an NBA game since I went to LA and saw them play the Nuggets because I was so just appalled. You have 162 games of baseball, and I've told you, I think a lot of these players are entitled and they show it. They don't run to first base and all that, but they also play 162 games. You have the NBA, they're complaining about load management. Like, some of you aren't even going to play in the playoffs, so shut the hell up, you know? And that's kind of my thing is that, you know, you got the NFL, everybody watches the NFL, and there are issues I have with it, whatever. The NHL, they play 82 games, no one complains because, I mean, those are men. Like, those guys knock the crap out of each other, broken jaw, broken teeth, dislocated eye. I don't know. Like, but they're out there the next day. But the NBA, it's like, oh, cramps, he's done for the day. You know? And so the MLB, it's like, yeah, you know, injuries and all that, but these guys are playing 162 games. Then they're playing 7-game series. So think about that. And I just feel like right now, and this is why I think I'm so passionate about fixing some of these issues, like rewarding teams to just outright tank and penalizing teams for spending in the draft, because we talked about that. Competitive balance, bullshit. You're rewarding teams for being bad. Like that. Why? Like we went through the whole deep dive on that one episode where it's like,
I mean, we lost Juan Soto and they gave us a 4th-round pick. Why are you giving us a pick for it? We lost the bid war, and you're going to give me a 4th-round pick that can turn. It's not going to turn into anything because we don't know how to draft. But you're going to sit here and throw a pick our way. I mean, it's like good for us, but I don't even want it. Like, what a pity draft. I mean, could you imagine? So I guess the real point here is that baseball is going to be just fine if the Dodgers just completely mollywop us. And what everyone knows in our chat, they just really don't think about it all the time, is how hard this game really is. The Dodgers, as good as they are on paper, they are way better than the Yankees. They are way better than the Padres.
This is a great point, by the way.
But the real point is that the Dodgers could just lose. It's just so difficult to just go win the World Series anyway. You need to be somewhat healthy. You need to be somewhat hot offensively. You need a couple of arms in your rotation, probably 2 or 3 that you can rely on.
2023 Yankees.
Right.
And then they stay healthy.
Bullpen throws it together. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's like where I'm at. So Luis with the super chat, I don't know why I don't have control to do it. Said at this point, sign Bregman, solidify the infield, and let's go to work. He's the missing piece right now. We need to be true contenders. I agree at this stage of where we are. I think at the beginning of the offseason, Luis, I was not happy about the idea of bringing Bregman aboard. I thought there were better options, but I will say this. If the Yankees just say, well, the Dodgers are just too good, why would we go get a player who can make us better in 2025? But we don't feel like we're going to be better than the Dodgers, and that's the reason they don't do it. It's a poor reason not to do it. It just is. And it's not going to stop you from going to get Kyle Tucker if he's really as good of a player as the Yankees have said he is. And I believe Kyle Tucker to be a special player. Yeah, Alex Bregman right now, given our options, whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, it's probably our best choice as of today. And you can make the case 5 years, 165, 170 million. And you just got to see if Alex Bregman wants to become a part of a winning team, which obviously he's playing with the Astros, winning organization. Altuve said he'll move to left field. My assumption is he goes back to Houston, but we're in a tough spot right now that the Yankees are probably not as bad as what we're all thinking they're going to be, but by no means are we really a threat to win a World Series. It's unfortunate.
I think they win the same amount of games. I think they're pretty much they break even about how as good as they were, but that's the problem, Gary. And you've said that. They weren't better than the Dodgers last year, and that was like the third form Dodgers. Like now they're in their final form.
So this is Dragon Ball Z.
It always is.
Yeah.
But no, all jokes aside though, they're in their final form, and that is a horrifying reality. Now, to your point, it's 162 it's 162 games and nothing has been proven. Like the Dodgers have to go out there and they have to win 100 plus out of their 162. They have to get that number 1 seed. They have to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and they have to actually take care of business. Because if, let's say they deal with injuries and now they don't have that home field advantage, that's how you beat a team like that. That's how you take down a juggernaut. You don't want to see them in LA. You saw how that crowd took over that series against the Yankees. They absolutely took over that series. So say what you will. I mean, home field advantage is huge in the playoffs. And so I just think, like, for me, and I understand how people feel like, oh, it's annoying. I'll say this. When I saw that it was, no offense, Gary, when I saw it was Eagles Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I was like, I'm not watching that. I hate Super Bowl rematches.
You're going to watch it.
Exactly. We all are. Like, that's just the reality of it. Like, I remember saying, I'm not watching Giants and Patriots Part 2. I don't care. I watched every second of it. Because it's one thing to react in the moment and say, I'm not watching that. But when everyone starts talking about it and it's the big game, you are going to watch it. And it's the same thing with the Dodgers. You know, love them or hate them. If they're in the World Series, you're more likely to watch it than not, honestly.
Because that's what Jay Snow's saying. He's making that exact point.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are people who don't watch football all year. They just know Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's going to retire at the end of the season. They don't know a football from their butt cheeks. They're going to watch the game because the Chiefs are the 96 Bulls of the NFL right now. And so that's intriguing. Dynasties are intriguing. Everyone talks all day long about competitive balance. Show me the league with competitive balance. I'll show you a league that's not working. Show me the league where I can turn on the NBA and the Houston Rockets can go lose. They're a great team this year. Can go just lose to the Clippers, who don't even have their 2 of their star players playing. And then people say, well, that's really not that interesting. It's not that fun. But people will tell you, I don't want to watch a team that's been in the World Series for the last 5 years, and then simultaneously tell you the golden eras, love 96, love 98. You did? Because we were the Dodgers at that point. Everyone wanted to watch the Yankees play, not because they liked us. No, they thought we were just sickening. They
want to see you lose. That's the thing. Hate watching is real. Whether you believe it or not, I watched every single Patriots Super Bowl. And I mean, I held a grudge from my childhood watching them beat the Rams in the greatest show on turf. And you bet your ass, Gary, whether it was Philly, whether it was Carolina, whether it was the Giants twice, the Eagles again, like I was always rooting against the New England Patriots. I hated them. I watched them. I wanted them to lose. I was rooting for my rival Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. That's how much I hated them. I wanted them to lose. So to the point is that you can say right now, oh yeah, I wouldn't watch the Dodgers if the Yankees weren't in it. Yeah, you would. Or you'd at least keep tabs. You'd keep tabs. You'd follow it. You'd be like, man, you'd be hoping the Dodgers lost, because how funny would it be with everybody that the Dodgers acquired if they lost to, say, the Guardians? It would suck that it wasn't the Yankees, but you would be cracking up if the Guardians beat the Dodgers in the World Series.
Hey, or Zionist Stunna says he wouldn't. Did you watch D-backs Rangers? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Because the numbers suggest, and people will tell you all day long, no, I watched D-backs Rangers because I thought it was a cool story.
No, they just tweeted about it.
Right. No, you just said that and then you walked off. It wasn't a cool story. It's not interesting. It was
Yeah.
interesting. And then we said, oh, so we have to watch the Diamondbacks in a 7-game series. By the way, I'm from Arizona. I love watching the Diamondbacks. You really think I'm ignorant enough to look around and say, hey guys, you guys want to watch this fun product out in Arizona? No, nobody wants to watch that. So the alternative is either the Padres, the Yankees, the Mets, or those teams, all the main teams you think about, the Phillies. If those teams don't make it to a World Series, people say, wow, it's so great for the parity of the sport. Baseball doesn't like it. Why? Because we say it's a cool story and then we don't even turn the story on. So as far as I'm concerned, baseball is going to do nothing to solve this problem, because the more the Dodgers are there at the end, the more they have a Chiefs product to talk about. So
do you think they have a record-breaking revenue stream in 2024 without the Yankees-Dodgers World Series?
No one thinks that that's the case. Everyone thinks that the Yankees and Dodgers are the sole reason why that World Series did as well as it did.
Because
everyone believes that.
They are, because they're two teams that people despise, but they're also two teams that had a lot of star power. And, people can complain, oh, it's not all about stars and everything, but people were turning on that to watch Ohtani. They were turning on it to watch Judge and Soto and, watch Mookie Betts and watch Freddie Freeman. That was almost unprecedented how many future Hall of Famers there were in that World Series. So you just don't get that very often. And unfortunately, and the Stanley Cup has seen this as well, really only the Super Bowl, because of the spectacle it's become. It's the one league where no matter who is in it, people are going to watch. People are going to treat it like it is the Super Bowl, like it's a big deal. If it was, let's say, the Commanders and Bills, does that sound like the most appealing Super Bowl before the season started? You'd be like, first off, how the hell did Commanders get there? But people would watch it. People would be all in love with the idea of Josh Allen, who is right now maybe the best quarterback in the NFL or one of them. And then you have Jaden Daniels, who's the future of the league. And you have just so many different storylines there. And then, let's just say, completely obscure, if the Browns were in the Super Bowl and they played, I don't know, let's just say like an ugly one. Let's just say Carolina. That would still be interesting, because the way the NFL works is these teams don't just teleport there. They had to earn it. And it's just, like I said, it's a spectacle. By the time you go through the playoffs, there's only one game to follow, Gary. There's not a series. So you don't really have to get the casual fan to sit there and follow a 7-game series. That casual fan can be like, they watch the Browns road to the Super. I can't believe this. Browns.
Yeah, you can't play one game in baseball, and they know that.
But yeah, exactly. So what gets people to watch, a 7-game series, if they're not a fan of maybe even the sport? It's big teams, it's star power, it's brands, and the Yankees, the Dodgers, hell, even the Mets. I mean, I think the Mets would get people to turn on, with Juan Soto there. You can make your jokes, but I still think so. The Phillies, Bryce Harper, some of those guys, right? With football, anybody would tune in to the Super Bowl. With hockey, it depends. I mean, it really does. And then I think with the NBA, Gary, I'll tell you, I don't remember the last. Oh, I do remember. The last time I watched the NBA Finals was when the Lakers played the Heat. That's the last time.
The Lakers played the Heat?
Mm-hmm.
When did the Lakers play the Heat in the finals?
Oh, did they not play Heat? I thought they did.
No, I don't think so. What year are you talking about?
I am talking about 2020. Who the hell the Lakers play? They won anyway.
Oh, yeah, that was the Heat. That was oh my gosh, the bubble. Yeah.
Dude, you had me worried. I was like, wow.
The bubble.
I don't know my team and who they played. Yeah, I haven't watched since the bubble finals.
Oh my God. And by the way, I'm not one of those people who says the bubble doesn't count, because everyone played at the bubble. But
yeah, I think
said that,
it was
I did
tougher.
not remember that.
I think it was tougher because now
I forgot about the bubble.
The Lakers, who would have had home court advantage, they didn't get home court advantage. They're playing.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was tougher. But point being, like, at least this is just for me. I'm not speaking for everybody else. But like, are you sitting there like, yeah, dude, I really want to see the Nuggets take on the Celtics. I mean, maybe if you're like really into basketball, but the Nuggets just aren't that recognizable brand, even if they've been great the last 5 years and Jokic and all that. Like the Nuggets aren't that brand that's just everlasting. Like the Dodgers have been that. The Yankees have been that. And so we're talking from a casual fan standpoint, because guess what? The MLB isn't worried about bringing in your money. If you're watching this show, you are a diehard. I hate to break it to you. You might not want to be called a diehard. You might not want to admit it. But if you are watching MLB content in late January, you are a diehard. So these are like, we're not the target audience. They're trying to get the casual viewer. And is the casual viewer going to turn on Diamondbacks, Rangers, to your point? Absolutely not. Because Gary, in the words of Gary Sheffield Jr., they don't give a rippity doodah about
they're not
those
turning
two.
on Corbin Carroll. And I love Corbin Carroll. They're not turning
he's
that
so
on.
fun.
I'm here to tell you, they're trying to see if Shohei Ohtani takes an at bat against one of the game's best closers and hits the ball 475. That's what they want to see, because it's going to be on Instagram. Corbin Carroll's laced double down the right field line is not what they want to see. They want to see big names, big personalities. They want to see Bryce Harper. They want to see Aaron Judge. They want to see Mike Trout healthy and playing. That's it. So, yeah, it's not going to change. Great stream back, by the way. The Marlins are a money laundering operation.
We can end it on that. That is the funniest thing I've ever seen. That is hilarious. But
beautiful city, booty baseball team.
Yeah. Well, look, we appreciate you guys. 2,400 viewers right now. Mm-hmm. Oh, are you not able to see that?
No. There could literally be 3 people in here: my mother, my aunt, and my uncle. For all I know, I have no control. I normally, guys, I can control like who goes on screen,
StreamYard just locked you out.
Why? Yeah, StreamYard's just like, who's this bozo? So, yeah.
Yeah, they put on their fail-safe measures. 2,400 viewers right now. Over 2,400. Now most of them are on Twitter, but I mean, we still have, over 100 people on YouTube. Like I said, was our target goal. But yeah, people will rewatch this.
Baseball. It's January 30th. Don't you guys have something else to do?
Yeah,
on a Thursday. But
well, I
absolutely love it. There's people like us.
Well, this was a good time because like the NFC and AFC title games are over, and there's that kind of break in between the Super Bowl. So I think people are just kind of like, you start to feel it. As a baseball fan, you start to feel it after the championship weekend. You start to be like, okay, spring training is coming around the corner. And you have that dead period between like the media day and all that, media week and the Super Bowl. This is the time, man. And I'm glad we did this. And, I'm glad that, we have just an awesome fan base because people showed up and showed out. And I will say this to wrap it up here. If you guys are on Twitter right now and you have not subscribed to the Yankees Unloaded YouTube channel, be sure to do that because that is where our headquarters is. Obviously you guys are getting it over on Twitter as well, and we appreciate that. But YouTube is essentially, if you want to support us, Elon doesn't pay us jack shit, okay, on this app. He just doesn't. So if you want to support us, just know the money is being made over on YouTube. Gary, sometimes you have to have some transparency. I know, you like Five Guys, you like your Chick-fil-A, but man, like
I'm headed there now.
I know you are. That's why I brought up. But we're not talking about, getting some pocket change to go over to Chick-fil-A. We're trying to actually make a real income doing this and have this be part of our career. And you're not going to do that over on X. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all. Yeah. Elon's not doing a damn thing for us when it comes to that, which, I mean, I didn't anticipate that to happen. But to answer the question before we go, Stunna wants to know, outside of YouTube, what other platforms are you guys streaming on? At some point or another, we are going to be full-time on Spotify and all that type of stuff, but takes work to do it. So we'll probably plan on that for 2025, the regular season, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, because not everybody has YouTube Premium, and essentially not trying to sell them on YouTube Premium. But Gary, and I'm sure you know this as well, I don't know, do you have YouTube Premium?
They should give us YouTube Premium for free for being like a monetized podcast. That's what should be part of their deal.
I already have it, but
I know you do.
But
I saw the price of it and I almost, I'm not even going to say what I freaked out. Well, why is it so I mean, it's expensive. So.
Well, I guess my issue is that YouTube is essentially holding back something they know they have because they want to make money off it. Like the idea that you can't just have a video going on your phone, put it on, and just keep it open is insane. You have to literally keep the YouTube app open unless you have premium. Then you can go and you can close your phone and listen to it like a podcast. So that's why when people ask, hey, are you on audio? That's why. Because when they try to do that on YouTube and they don't have premium, it's like, oh man, like I don't have the ability. I have to keep the app open, and I drive trucks. Like we have people that listen to us, driving their trucks all around, the country, or, they're doing landscaping. It's like the poor people have to have the freaking app open in their pocket, and before you know it, they're dialing 911 in their pocket.
Speak of the devil. I've got our show kind of running it so I can read the chat, and they just threw me an ad that I had to skip. So I mean, just kind of proving your point. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they did. So at one point, how much is YouTube Premium before we go?
Let me find that out. YouTube
Dave, we're back.
Premium.
Yeah, ad just happened. I think everyone saw that same ad. I didn't even see what it was. I skipped it.
All right, let's see. Manage. $13.99 a month.
Oh, $13.99 a month's not bad at all.
You're probably talking about YouTube TV.
I probably did screw that up, but $13.99 a month.
Because $13.99
gives us.
Yeah, like exactly. So yeah, guys, I mean, you could sign up for Twitter, have a few tweets that go viral, and you'll get as much money to pay off the YouTube Premium. There you go.
Paying for YouTube Premium is like what it feels like for Hal Steinbrenner to pay like DJ LeMahieu. That's how much money we're talking about.
Yeah, so, it's just happening in the background. You get the $13.99 taken out of your account, and you're ad free. Also, by the way, for those people that are like, oh no, like does that hurt you guys? Nope, we make money off it.
Helps us.
It helps us.
No, it's great. So, Kenny Ortiz, member. Let's go Yankees. Stephanie, thank you for watching.
Appreciate
she says
you
we're
guys.
The best baseball podcast, and I can't wait for the regular season to start. I can't wait for March. I really can't, because I'm ready to get back to the everyday. I shouldn't even call it a grind. It's so much fun for us.
Oh, but yeah.
To just talk Yankees baseball, even when we're pissed, because this
it's
team
therapeutic,
is reason to be pissed right out the gate. But we're gonna come in March 28th and be hoping to be pleasantly surprised by the product. And if that happens, then great. But if not, we'll be your therapists for the cost of YouTube Premium.
Yes. So 2 things real quick. I want to find that comment because that was hilarious. Oh, that.
Rippity doo dah. We should have T-shirts that say that.
Who's actually saying that? Did you made that up? I've never heard a soul say that.
I can tell you where because I mean I'm very like ADD with it. I got that from. I know they got rid of it, but for any of you guys who go to Disneyland ever, and you get on Splash
zippity
Mountain,
doo-dah.
Zippity doo-dah. Yeah, and I just
we know you got it from there. I'm just saying, did anybody say that before you said it? Because if not,
probably not.
We should probably trademark that shit.
I don't know, because if I say that I'm the first one who said it, then people are gonna find the person who in fact said it that I didn't take it from. So
and then you get sued in the ground, and Harvey Specter all of a sudden is
so I'm just gonna go ahead and say I didn't say it first, even though I probably did.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so movie time.
Whose is it?
I'll
take it.
I haven't watched. Dude, I looked and I have not watched a movie since November. It's just been TV shows.
6-month-old. I don't even know what movies are anymore.
Oh, that's fair.
I might have to go with what's her name? What's her name? Who just made it to Netflix? Miss Rachel.
I mean, I was just gonna say Nosferatu, and I didn't even see the movie.
Oh, these movies stink. What is this?
How about this? Any gamers out there? You'll know. I am obsessed with this game. It's a JRPG, Japanese RPG. It's called Persona 5 Royal. So if you made it to this point, in the video, whether you're rewatching or now, drop a comment. Persona 5. There you go.
Persona 5.
Persona 5.
Okay.
I think it's
Love
that
it.
simple. So yeah.
It was not good. That's funny.
Oh man.
Cameron Diaz hasn't been good in a movie since was it Bad Teacher? Who they paid her like $30 million to do that. So,
oh my God.
yeah. Well, whatever.
Anyway, we appreciate you guys. Again, Persona 5, if you stuck around to this point. And yeah, see? Kenny knows. It is addicting. I'll just leave it at that. But you guys take care, and we'll see you soon. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
And like this video.